I'm so happy today to be able to talk to Amy Eichner, Dr. Amy Eichner from United States Anti-Doping Agency. And Amy and I have worked together and partnered up on so much since I think about 2011 or so. So it's been quite a long time. So Amy, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm Amy Eichner. I work for the U.S. Anti-Doping Agency, where I really support the Supplement Connect and Dietary Supplement High Risk List. That's our list of dietary supplements that are known to contain performance-enhancing substances, just as a way to warn athletes, and also help run our Global Drug Reference Online, which again is all about medications and letting athletes know what's prohibited and what's permitted in sport.
Of course, we just published our paper, recently, and where we talked about these novel or experimental substances, which we have a new acronym, NES. And, these are these investigational drugs in some cases, and again, these research chemicals. What are you seeing as the most common ones right now? What is USADA tracking most that you're, in the marketplace now?
Gosh, I mean, we're really seeing a lot. We're seeing definitely MOTS-C. We're definitely seeing BPC 157, AOD 9604, BAM 15. We're seeing cardarine, cerebrolysin. I mean, we're seeing a lot. We're seeing some exosome and extracellular vesicle treatments. We're seeing the GHRPs, the SARMs, the ipamorelin and others. I think the novel and experimental compound concept is really important to open up people's thoughts about where the risks are coming from. Previously, we talked mostly about adulterated or contaminated dietary supplements, but I think it's really important to really broaden the scope of the areas that we're monitoring for risk.
I completely agree. I think, we've both published papers, Operation Supplement Safety, United States Anti-Doping Agency, Major League Baseball, others, where, of course, FDA keeps the tainted product list. And we really had talked a lot about the contaminated and adulterated. And now it's like blatantly right out there for sale. And let's talk about SARMs for a minute. So SARMs, or selective androgen receptor modulators, are unapproved drugs. There's no approved use. And, we have MK2866, RAD140, RAD150, the list goes on. So, yet these are everywhere. I have been in actual locations that have not been too far from military bases where I was able to see them on a shelf. So,
yeah, that's crazy.
So, we know they're available online. So, they're so ubiquitous now. Don't you agree?
Yeah, it's kind of an interesting time, I think, for society. I think a few things changed. Amongst the users of dietary supplements, people were always augmenting their diet, augmenting, parts of their health with dietary supplements. But I mean, you can argue about the effectiveness of regulation around dietary supplements, but still there were standards and there was regulation. I feel like, and this is totally observational, since COVID, people are much more engaged in their own health in terms of diagnosing themselves and also treating themselves with experimental medications. There's just a lot more comfort around that. And I think that that's contributing to the burgeoning of this research only field, or even the use of veterinary medicines on humans. And yeah, it's really a growing area. It's very, very interesting why society has suddenly gone this direction. We've been aware of dietary supplements that are contaminated and adulterated, but since, you know, sort of the 2018, 2019 and onward, we've started to see products really migrate into this new field of like research chemicals or not for human consumption. And that's where we're really starting to see some crazy novel experimental compounds appearing. Some of the ones that you mentioned obviously are in, you know, being marketed in that way. We're also seeing MOTC, dihexa, a bunch of the melanotides that people take to try to get tanned, you know, without being in the sun, which come with humongous risks. And as you said, a lot of them, well, some of them are injectable, so they do not, it's pretty obvious that they're not a dietary supplement, but there seems to be a blurring of these industries where people just feel like, oh, it's injectable nutrition. On the other hand, some products truly resemble dietary supplements in their packaging and labeling. And people are so accustomed to buying things online nowadays that they just don't even think twice. And in fact, there's so many online sellers, people are just very comfortable with purchasing online. So it used to be that people would buy a dietary supplement from like a known vendor online, and nowadays it could be anyone. So these online sellers, though, might not even be in the United States. They might be overseas. So you really don't know what you're getting. And it's really scary how comfortable people are in this new environment.
You know, in the DoD, we have a whole subcommittee, you know, with a charter on dietary supplements and other self-care products. So now the self-care industry, as you pointed out, has exploded. So how do we mitigate the risks, again, for service members, athletes, all consumers? I know for us, we educate as much as we can on third-party certification of products, you know, so how do we mitigate the risks?
Well, it's a real challenge because the FDA does not regulate medical practice. So the communication between a doctor and a patient. And there are a lot of wellness clinics and other types of clinics out there that will prescribe a lot of these experimental compounds. And I think one of the issues is that when there is an adverse event or something goes wrong, there's no one there collecting that data. There's really no one to keep track, you know, help patients through adverse events. There's no one really looking at that data. So maybe part of the solution would be to come up with some kind of way to collect adverse event reports, share, spread the word around about collecting adverse event reports. Maybe our poison control centers could have, make a contribution on this area. I think that will be key to drawing attention to the risks of this industry.
I completely agree. It's definitely a call to action, and it's going to take more than us teaming up. And of course, we're fortunate, both of us, to partner with Major League Baseball, and they're such a big part of this as well. But Amy, I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with you today. And anything else you'd like to say in closing about this topic?
I don't have anything else to add at the moment, but I think this industry will continue to grow. So I think getting information out to our stakeholders is especially important at this time.
And continuing to work together.
Obviously.
Yes. All right, Amy, thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrea.